Hello, it's Scott Manley here, and we are still playing Take on Mars because I really enjoy it. I mean, yeah, it is kind of chilled out, and it's neat. I like the way the game plays. Anyway, we've already done 2 of the missions. We're on to the next one, which is this little cluster of missions here. The Sand Crater being the main one, but you then have this minor mission details here. What have we got to do? We got to photograph things, analyze things, just all the usual stuff. And this one is more photographing, but this is the main one, and we're going to drop a rover on it and do all that, right? So let's look at the vehicle details. We have this T3, it's a small rover with a solar array. This is the one basically I broke, right? So let's do that. Now this is solar powered, and one thing you might want to do is make sure the sun is higher in the sky. See, there's the day night. It's just past dawn. Right, so we want to let the sun get higher in the sky because this thing entirely relies on solar power. So if it doesn't have enough, you'll find yourself running low on power. And although it doesn't seem to happen right now, apparently if you run out of power, completely, then bad things can happen to your rover. So let's do this. Let's launch the vehicle. And we'll stick it right in the middle there, and hopefully it will actually land somewhere sane and do so in a reasonable amount of time. Now, given that the game right now appears to be somewhat unstable in ways, or random failures seem to have serious consequences, I strongly advise saving before launching any mission, simply because you can find that you're stuck in a corner with no options, no more money, no place to go, no missions to do, nothing within your budget, and that would be unfortunate because you can then you can really find yourself painted into a corner, and the only way to fix that is to restart. So saving before each mission, it does seem a little cheap, but I think it's necessary right now. It's acceptable given the way the game's career mode works at this time. Also, it's entirely possible that you will find yourself in a situation like this where you're only moving down at about 4 meters per second, and well, it doesn't seem to be moving down particularly quickly. See this? It's 500 meters up. This is going to take almost 2 minutes to reach the surface. Now, I think I remember somewhere there is an option here that will adjust time, slow mode time scale, right? So this was a piece of advice that I got here. If we go back to return to game, so we're coming down at about 3, and if I hold R down, it will slow things down, but look at my vertical speed. It is increasing, right? So if you find yourself hovering too high up, hold down R and let the velocity pick itself up. Obviously, you don't want to do this for too long because you could find yourself, crashing into the surface at ridiculous speeds. But hopefully, you will find yourself. Hopefully, you will at least get some chance. Okay, why is this? There we go. Let's zoom out, see where we are. 6.3 meters per second again, but at least we're coming down a little faster and not having to worry about. Oh look, I think they may have fixed the rocket exhaust. That's another thing. The minor fixes we have seen in the last few days. There was also a new update to Steam where you can, when you start it out, you have the option to enable a flag that lets you view the game, lets you quit out of the game, not quit out of the game, lets you tab out of the game and still have the clock run, which is really, really important. Especially in this mode where you have solar panels, and if you find yourself needing to recharge your solar panels, you didn't want to remain in the game while you basically waited for the sun to, recharge your solar panels. I was doing a live stream on Friday night, I believe, and the thing was moving down at 1 meters per second, and I was like, well, I can't tab out of this because then we won't be able to make it to the surface. I'm just gonna have to talk and fill time, and hey, look at my awesome new Android tablet. It was kind of embarrassing. Incidentally may have a live stream tonight. There we go, excellent. Explore crater completed. That means we've also landed relatively close to the surface. We'll just let this calm down, slow down, and then That's great. I've also had this thing land like 100 meters or so away, which, of course, given that this thing doesn't have a huge amount of power, is a big trek across the plains to get here. Come on! I've rolled my dice. Now I want to get out. There we go. So now we're going to be looking for navigation points to perform our missions. If we, this is as far out as we go. There's the crater. We're going to investigate the sand crater first, right? We've got a few other things to do. Okay, so look, we've already got stuff marked on the map. And the first thing, I guess, to explore is 60 meters away. That's that. And there's something over there. Okay, let's try the mission. What do we have? Sand crater, 2 tasks. Photograph the rocky rim. Photograph rocky rim. Photograph crater. That's the photograph the inside of the crater. Now, I'm going to zoom in here again. This is the probe, or this is the rover. The camera is on this end. There is a sensor, right? An alpha alpha X-ray spectrometer, I can't remember, APXS is on this. So this is actually the front, right? And this is the back, but the back has the camera, so when you push backwards, you roll forwards, right? Very important to know. Because you'll find also that when you're driving backwards, which is most natural because that's where your camera is, you'll find that your steering is reversed, but as soon as you stop, your steering will go the opposite direction. Anyway, look, we're charging up. Our charge rate is about 7 watt-hours. 7 watts per hour? I'm not really... 7 watt-hours per second? I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean, actually. Regardless, I know where I'm going. We're going to this crater here. So... yeah, the idea is we got to get up on the edge of the crater and take a bunch of photographs, and you can see our power levels already going down at quite a large rate. This is why I was telling you to advance time until the middle of the day. Unfortunately, it doesn't gain solar power while you're sitting around outside of the. If you go back to the control room, the thing doesn't continue to recharge when you're not sitting in it, unfortunately. So you pretty much have to wait this thing out. There's not much you can do to make the recharge go faster. You can't, tab away and look at something else. Okay, we're up here. Let's go to take photos. We go to the heads-up display. Ah, look. So turn this way, get that picture. Snap. Turn the other way. Hey, we got photograph crater complete. Now it says, next mission, analyze radiation. So you click on the drill up at the top, and this thing here becomes visible. This is an area you have to drive into. It says, atmosphere rad, right? Now, the only active instrument on this is the APXS. That's not what's going to happen. We're going to use... oh, that's not what I needed. Press C. This mast is like the environmental monitoring station or something. When you drive this in, it will actually do the atmosphere and the radiation monitoring and everything for me. So you just need to drive in there and it will do the analysis, and you'll get the $10,000 for just driving into this little hole. And that's great. You just got to take the whole rover in. Sit there for a second, I think. I don't know how far in you have to go. Maybe I just sit still. I'll just keep driving because I need to go through to the other side anyway. There we go. Now, 2 tasks. Aha! This smaller crater at the edge of Victoria is much younger than Victoria itself, but still very old. It has been partly flattened by erosion and has been completely covered by wind-blown sand and dust. Sand and dust. So... the next task is a photograph, so switch back to the photograph HUD so you can actually figure out where you're going. And there we go. We gotta head up over this rim and take another picture. And again, it is reversed in this mode. I want to get to show you a mission where we bring up the APXS, because that is a common problem that a lot of people have. But let's do this. I'm just going to leave it on the exterior view so we can actually appreciate where we're going. We're driving into this tiny, tiny sand crater that actually sits on the edge of this larger crater. And what we're really doing here is we're taking photographs of the rocks on the side of the crater. So I recommend doing the one to the left first, and I'll just come up over the top and we'll hopefully get everything. There we go. So snap that. That's one mission. Now the other one is all the way over there. As I understand it, in the final version, you're going to have to be more careful about running out of battery power. I'm going to try and run along the cliff, not the cliff, but the top of this crater rim, rather than trying to skirt around the inside, just in case. Oh, power drain is going up, going down. How interesting. I wonder if it's accounting for my angle relative to the sun. Oh, that seems to be better, actually. That might be the best way to do it, is to sit there with my solar panels facing slightly south. After all, it does appear to be winter in the northern hemisphere. But we should be able to get a decent view from here. 1, 2, 3. Hey, excellent. So that's that one. Photograph taken. So now you've done that, it says minor task complete. Now, you can just click on assign nearest, but I prefer to pick my tasks in process because we've done this. You see there's one right in front of me, and if I look back, there's a number of new sites that have been unlocked on the other side of the crater, which we could drive to in this, but they're 800 meters away. That is a long drive. There's another one there, and another one to the south. So since we're ultimately going to hope to go all the way around the crater, we're going to go for this one first. So that's 95 meters away. So long drive, but that's what we're going to have to do. And again, we can just switch out and appreciate what this thing looks like. I think this, if you want to go for realism, you can work with the internal instrumentation, but this one's obviously looks a whole lot nicer. I really like the detail they've worked on for these crater rims. Martin, if you heard the interview I did with him, he did this one himself pretty much, and then they've got some artists helping him for the other ones apparently. It's all based off of real data, which has relatively high resolution data. They've got real images, and some of this stuff is kind of interesting because the dark streaks, really, they're not that visible to the human eye. They've obviously exaggerated them so that you have something interesting to look at, but regardless, this is a good way to it looks fantastic is what I'm saying. Okay, so that's 60 meters, 75 meters, so I should be able to assign nearest, and it should give me this one now. Please give me this one. There we go. Execute. To be considered complete, we must do all these things. Explore the designated region. So explore basically means you have to drive to the navigation waypoint. And, as you can see, this is doing maybe 0.5 meter per second, so we're a couple of minutes out from this. And really, you just have to wait it out. There's not much you can do. I don't actually know what the power level is and whether that will actually support driving this long distance, but right now there doesn't appear to be a consequence for running out of power, although in reality there probably will be. Real world space probes, they want to be careful they don't completely drain their batteries, because some battery systems have issues with memory effect, or if they run out completely, they can get themselves into a situation where they can't recharge them. But that hasn't been implemented yet at this time. Actually, interesting thing about battery technology, it's something I keep on meaning to comment on. People play a Kerbal Space Program and they put on the laterally mounted battery packs that look like giant, Duracell batteries. And they're like, oh yeah, why do Kerbals have giant AA batteries on it? They're kind of mocking the Kerbal's use of AA batteries, but the truth is, you know what? NASA uses lots of AA batteries. In fact, if you have any electronic device, any portable electronic gizmo you want to take to the space station, odds are you're going to have to get it modified to use AA batteries. And the reason is, AA batteries are certified for spaceflight, whereas your random device with its lithium-ion battery may not actually be certified for spaceflight. So it's a lot easier to convert it to fly than it is to actually... it's a lot easier to convert it to use AA than it is to actually certify, you know, your fancy lithium-ion battery system. So we got to take some photos first, right? Let's get some photos from up here. Nice. That'll be a good one for the books. I gather that a bunch of these should be postable straight to Steam. Come on, there we go. Get the last one. Ah, man, there's a little rocky outcropping there that I need to get around. I guess I need to go this way a little. Just so I can get around that rock. There it is, it's green now. You see how it's turned green on the edge of the display? Now I should be able to snap that all-important photo. Excellent! Perform an analysis of the point of interest. Now, I believe this may be the mission that a lot of people have trouble with. So actually, yeah, stick on the camera HUD, and it says, oh, atmosphere EMS. Okay, that's not the one that people have trouble with. Ah, that's a ways. Let's go all the way over there now. Again, this is a case where you just got to drive the rover into the area to get an analysis. Presumably it's analysing for radiation, but I don't know what it would tell you. But, you know, they have very fancy instruments and everything. Presumably they're not looking for... Oh, look, power level 0. Yep, I've now ruined this space probe. But the alternative is sitting still in the middle of a video and trying to make up, you know, more discussions about AA batteries and stuff. Yeah, you know, people do take iPods to the space station, but they pretty much have to get them modified to run off of AA batteries. Aha! With all tasks of major scientific value complete, the mission can be considered accomplished. Well done. Okay, so back to finding the nearest mission, and we want to do the one to the south now, which is a whole 179 meters away. Ah! Come on. Got a long drive ahead of you now. Can appreciate the vistas from our third-party viewpoint, but in real life, the quality of the camera would not be nearly so good. It'd be nice to have a time accelerate button. We only have slow-mo. Yes. That's great. I like how the pitch changes. There's actually a thread on the forums where people were discussing the sound properties of the Martian atmosphere. Because the Martian atmosphere is mostly carbon dioxide and it's very low density, the speed of sound is a lot lower than it is on... or it's different, I believe, than it is on Earth, right? Speed of sound is much lower because carbon dioxide has a heavier molecular mass, therefore the mean free path velocity or whatever is lower. It's colder on Mars, and the air temperature, the air is much less dense, so the speed of sound on Mars is much lower, and as a result, some sounds will be lower pitch. But the way I read it, it sounded like the developers were pitching down every single piece of sound, and then I pointed out, or at least I endeavoured to point out, that if you have an oscillator of some sort, say an electric motor, it doesn't matter what properties the atmosphere has because it's just conveying the waveform. It will be quieter, but because you know, your attenuation will be higher, or your ability to transmit audio into the atmosphere will be lower simply because the atmosphere is less dense, so everything will seem quieter. But it won't change the pitch. But if you have something which makes noise by blowing air through something or oscillating an air column, say like a whistle, if you had a whistle on Mars, the pitch of that whistle would be lower because it relies on the speed of sound, and the speed of sound on Mars is significantly lower. So, unfortunately, I don't think any space probe has ever been sent to Mars with a whistle or a flute or anything attached to them. They have sent a couple of different spacecraft with microphones, but they've had trouble, which has basically meant that they never got used. The first one that failed was I believe Mars Polar Lander. The first Mars Polar Lander, which failed on descent to the Martian surface, possibly because the folding out of the legs may have may have caused a jerk, which the accelerometer indicated or interpreted as having landed on the surface, and then since it thought it had landed, it cut the power to its motors. We'll probably never know. That was just one of the scenarios. That was the scenario that seemed most likely, I believe. Okay, just see, we're just still going. How are we doing? If we're closest to this one now, I'll do the assign nearest thing. There we go. Remember, I'm manually driving towards these things before assigning them, just because I don't know how to switch a mission once it's already assigned. I don't know how to unassign a mission at this time. And if you pick the wrong one, you can end up having to drive a whole lot extra distance. Oh yes, this is highly slow. The other one that had a microphone on it, incidentally, was Mars Phoenix Lander, which was the other polar lander, I believe. It was a lander. It was rare. I mean, I think it was the last thing that was just sent to sit still on the surface. You know, now we're sending either spacecraft or we're sending rovers, because there's only so much research you can do with a spacecraft that sits in one place and, you know, does stuff. Mars Polar Lander, it supposedly found something that looked like ice because it melted or evaporated. But anyway, Mars Polar Lander had a camera in its descent stage that was going to do a really nice high quality movie of the descent, supposedly, just like we saw for Curiosity. But as they were testing this and as they were integrating it, they found some bugs in the system, and apparently there was a small chance that the camera, when turned on, could cause the computer to go into a safe mode. And since it was only turned on during landing, they decided to not turn it on at all. So they basically disconnected the camera. And as such, they also disconnected the microphone. It went all the way to Mars, but it was never used at any time. And it was a real shame, because, you know, we want to hear sounds from Mars. I'm sure we do. Maybe we'll come up with some fancy way of doing it. I don't know. Maybe there's some way to interpret vibrations from the hardware to tell us what we're hearing. Okay, I'm so glad that the power level isn't mattering right now, because otherwise this would be a way longer video with me having to cut away while this thing recharges. There we go. Excellent. So now we've explored a couple of things. What are our tasks? Our tasks are to photograph something. That, and well, let's do that one first. So we gotta photograph this rock. So I guess we gotta come around the other side of this rock to take the photos. So you want to be careful you don't crash into the rock, especially since you've come all this way, and to crash a rover costs money, obviously. I don't think you can buy insurance on Mars rovers. They do actually sell insurance on satellites, believe it or not, because, you know, businesses are made and broken on satellites, but space probes are rarely insured anymore. Let's take another snapshot. Yay, okay, one more to get. I'm just gonna come all the way around so I can take this last photo. Waiting for that to turn green in the corner of my heads-up display. It should... Nope. Not gonna turn green yet? No, it's still on the other side of that rock. Okay, gotta travel further. So close. Oh, there it looks like it's green now. I think it's green. There we go. No. But unfortunately I can't get it in a frame with other things, so I can't take a photo. Okay, so drive forwards over this way. Now turn around and maybe I can get it in frame with some other ones. If not, I shall have to push forwards and drive backwards. How confusing is that? Ah, there we go. Got my photo. Now I need to analyze, so I click on the drill icon, and here's the mission that stumps a lot of people. It says analyze this stone using the APXS. So, Alpha Particle X something or other experiment system. So you remember how I pointed out the camera on the front was actually the back, and how the actual thing was on the back? Well, now's a good time to actually use this. We turn the whole thing around. I actually, there we go. And so I'm now going to drive forwards. Drive forwards towards it. You see that the camera is not pointing at the rock, but this is, so turn a little more. Excellent, get this right close in there. Maybe a little more this way. Okay. And then just roll right into the rock. And when we get the red heads up, watch the heads up. When we get really close, we should get a heads up display. Ah, there we go, ready. You see that? Analyze. Analyze. Do not move instrument, which means do not move the entire vehicle. So I'm kind of sitting here waiting for interesting things to happen. Which is what you do most of the time when you're running one of these space missions. You pretty much program your stuff and then wait 20 minutes for the response to come back, and hopefully the response isn't, you know, I just fell into a ditch. Or, as they say, unintended entry into negative hazard. I like the fact that they call holes in the ground negative hazards, because they are very much hazards. They're just, you know, not ones that stick up out of the ground. Okay, have I completed? It says analyze the point of interest, so there must be another one. Let's just find... Oh yeah, it's here. It's on the other side. I just have to drive into this with my emission spectrometer. Okay. Yeah, drawing pictures there again. Let's turn this way, and we'll go back to regular view. Back to non-cheaty view. I'm not very good at parking these things. I mean, you know, I can never find a spot on this planet. Oh, right, no, yes. Turn this way. Good news is I get a little sliver of power back. Don't crash it, though. Again, just drive into this area, and once you're deep enough into the area, you will get the mission complete. Just gotta get far enough in that the atmosphere processor scanner thingy can do its work. Excellent. So this one is now analyzing for radiation. Minor task complete. Excellent. But there's now an even more minor task, I guess. Perform an analysis. And keep going. Keep going. No. There we go. Analyze complete. Now, there's one last... There we go, actually. With all tasks of major science value done, the mission can be considered accomplished. Well done. So we have one last mission to do here, and that's off in that direction. So this will be another 4-minute drive, during which I'm going to have to come up with some discussion to fill the time with interesting information about science and such like. So I was talking about how you, when you take your electronic devices and you take them up to the space station, you have to modify them to run on AA batteries, because AA batteries are certified. There was a team developing a robot that was going to go to the space station, and the robot was apparently going to be built around a cell phone, right? Now, cell phones are awesome little things for building, you know, devices, right? They are, you know, small, self-contained, they have a power supply, they have a processor, they have all sorts of sensors already integrated into them, right? I mean, they have a screen as well, but a lot of cell phones, they'll have like accelerometers, gyroscopes, temperature sensors, you know, all sorts of things, and cameras. So they all come with support for this thing, so it makes it like a logical idea to like stick this on a robot. And actually you'll see one of the robots, one of the rovers that was sent to Squad, is built around using one of these, using a cell phone basically plugged into a little chassis to give it some, you know, mobility. Well, these guys wanted to do something like that on a space station and have like something the size of a grapefruit that could essentially fly around using little jets, I believe. But they wanted to build it around a cell phone. So to make the cell phone actually, you know, qualify for flight in the space station, first thing they had to do was change the batteries to use AA's. And the other thing they had to do was replace the glass on the screen. They weren't allowed to use glass on the screen because if you break a glass on Earth, what happens? Well, all the pieces of glass fall onto the ground and you sweep them up, hopefully before somebody stands on them and gets a shard of glass in their foot and sues you. In space, however, everything's 0G, right? If you break glass, if you even crack glass, then tiny fragments can come off. Like, even when you crack something and it doesn't look like much happened, you can still get really tiny shards coming off. And those things, of course, they can go into people's eyes, they can go into people's lungs. They float around, they are hazards, and they are hard to track down. So glass is not something that's generally used on the space station if it can be avoided. I'm sure there's some applications for which glass is, still required, because glass is a great material. It's usually inert and it's high temperature capable and things like that. But yeah, regular cell phone glass screens were not allowed, so they had to take that off and replace it with some sort of polymer-based screen, making it feel like a cheap and tacky cell phone, albeit one that flew around. And am I gonna make it through this gap? I don't want to crash. Oh, come on! There, you see. I would not make the navigation team. Let's go around. Let's go around. You don't want to crash these things, because you're trying to get the best value for money. And see, at this point, you can really start thinking in terms of getting the value for money. It's possible to launch another mission to that site, but it is a kilometer away. And if you can drive this over to it, it's a long drive, and you probably have to take a detour around the crater rather than straight through the crater. But maybe you can navigate your way through the crater and get there faster. But yeah, you want to do this. You want to save money and not have to launch another space probe off in that direction. And there we go. Explore complete. Execute the assigned tasks. So the assigned tasks involve taking pictures, and we got a rock to take pictures of. Let's do this. Okay. I think it does feel like cheating to actually use the external view. Yeah, I'll go through this gap here. I don't know where the edge of the crater is, and it would be really bad if we fell in. Okay, I guess I have to turn this way. Hopefully that isn't... Oh! I think I might actually be up on the side. Oh! Oh dear, I'm gonna break my wheels. Okay, obviously you should have gone over the other side. Oh dear. Yeah, this is bad news. I'm gonna break my probe. Just go very carefully here. Excellent. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's the edge of the crater. Don't fall into it. And then there's the things to be photographed. We have a few more things. Just get all my icons red. Or green. Get it greens across the board. Okay. This way. Come on. Ah, and there's still one to photograph on the other side. Snapshot. Okay, gotta go around a little more. Come on! Sounds like a razor blade or something. Electric razor. Yeah, they all use brushless electric motors, I believe, these days. Ah, excellent! Last picture. Oh, no, this way. Thank you. Photo complete, and that's us. That's us. We've completed all of the tasks at this site. And the next site is a long way away. If we go back to the center for now, we can actually take a look and see how far we have to go to the next site. It's up here. We can zoom in. So we have 2,900 and something. Yeah, all the way over here. You see my point about not going to this. One of the sites was here, so by cutting that one out, we've saved ourselves like a couple of 100 meters. We could just launch something to that, but it would cost another $1,100 or whatever, 1,100 kilo dollars, let's say, if we wanted to send one there. So by doing this, we've got ourselves set up. We're ready to head out on a very long trek, but I'm not going to do that in this video. I'm not going to do that on video, but I will do it, and we'll take a look at the next site next. Till then, I'm Scott Manley. Fly safe.